Listen carefully because what I'm about to reveal might completely shift your perspective on the female dynamics happening around you right now. While you're going about your day, completely unaware, there's likely a subtle battle being fought over you. Not with weapons or drama, but with psychology, strategy, and feminine competition that's so sophisticated you probably mistake it for coincidence. Here's what most men don't realize. When women truly want something, they don't compete the way men do. They don't openly challenge each other or make it obvious what they're fighting for. Instead, they engage in a complex social chess game that's happening right under your nose. And if you're the prize they're competing for, you have absolutely no idea. I'm talking about the guy who walks into a room and suddenly every woman there becomes acutely aware of every other woman's behavior. The man who creates an invisible shift in female energy without saying a word. The one who makes women unconsciously start positioning themselves, adjusting their strategies, and sizing up their competition. And here's the mind-blowing part. These women aren't just attracted to you. They're actively trying to eliminate each other as competition while making it look completely natural and friendly. So let me ask you something, and be brutally honest as we go through these signs. How many of these scenarios sound familiar? Because if even half of these resonate, I guarantee there's a secret female tournament happening around you, and you're the trophy they're all trying to win. Sign 1. Women suddenly become best friends. When you're around. Picture this scenario. You walk into a social setting, maybe a party, maybe work, maybe just a casual gathering. You notice something interesting. Women who barely acknowledge each other normally are suddenly acting like lifelong best friends when you're in the vicinity. They're laughing extra loud at each other's jokes, complimenting each other's outfits, standing close together like they're the tightest group of friends you've ever seen. You probably think, wow, these women really get along well. Wrong. What you're witnessing is strategic alliance building with a twist. They're not actually being friendly. They're gathering intelligence and positioning themselves. Here's what's really happening in their minds. Each woman is trying to figure out what the others are thinking about you while simultaneously trying to seem like the most confident, attractive, and socially connected person in the group. The excessive friendliness serves multiple purposes. First, it allows them to stay close to their competition and monitor every move. Second, it makes them appear socially desirable and well-liked, which is attractive. Third, it gives them opportunities to subtly undermine each other while maintaining plausible deniability. Listen carefully to these conversations. You'll hear things like, "Oh, Sarah, you look so tired today. Are you feeling okay?" Delivered with a sweet smile. That's not concern. That's psychological warfare disguised as caring. Or, "Emma is so brave for wearing that dress. I could never pull off something so bold." Translation. That dress doesn't look good, but I'm going to frame it as my own insecurity. The psychology behind this is fascinating. When women identify you as high value, they automatically assess their competition. But unlike men who might openly compete, women use social dynamics and emotional intelligence as weapons. Pay attention next time you're around a group of women. Do they seem unusually chummy when you're there? Are they making comments about each other that sound supportive but have an edge? That's not female friendship. That's female competition, and you're what they're competing for. Sign 2. They start mirroring each other's interest in your hobbies. This one's subtle but incredibly revealing. You mention you love rock climbing, and suddenly every woman in your social circle is talking about how they've always wanted to try rock climbing. You say you're into photography, and now they're all posting artistic photos and asking for camera recommendations. You probably think, what a coincidence that so many people share my interests. But here's what's actually happening. They're not just mimicking your interests, they're monitoring what everyone else is doing and escalating their own involvement to stay competitive. Woman A mentions she's thinking about taking a climbing class. Within a week, Woman B has already booked her first session. Woman C suddenly reveals she's been climbing for years but just never mentioned it. Each one is trying to outdo the others while making it seem natural. The psychology here is brilliant. They know that shared interests create connection, but they also know that being the woman who shares your passion gives them a significant advantage over their competition. But here's the telltale sign of competition: the speed and intensity with which they adopt these interests. If it were genuine, they'd develop these hobbies gradually and independently. Instead, they're racing to become the most knowledgeable, most committed, most naturally suited to your interests. Watch how they talk about these new hobbies around each other. There's a subtle one-upmanship happening. They're not just trying to impress you, they're trying to establish dominance in your interest area over the other women. Sign 3. Your name comes up in their conversations even when you're not there. This one requires some detective work, but it's one of the strongest indicators that you're the center of a secret competition. You start hearing from mutual friends that your name keeps coming up in conversations between certain women, even when the topic has nothing to do with you. Someone mentions a restaurant, and suddenly they're talking about how you mentioned loving Italian food. A conversation about movies turns into speculation about what genres you prefer. But here's the competitive element. Each woman is trying to demonstrate that she knows you better than the others. They're not just bringing you up randomly. They're trying to establish themselves as the authority on your preferences, your thoughts, and your life. Listen to how these conversations reportedly go. "Oh, that's interesting that you think he'd like that movie, because when we were talking last week, he mentioned he's more into documentaries." The implication is clear. "I have more recent and more accurate information about his preferences than you do." Or, "I don't think he'd be into that restaurant. He seems more like the type who prefers authentic hole-in-the-wall places." Translation: I understand his personality on a deeper level than you do. This isn't casual conversation about a mutual friend. This is intelligence warfare. Each woman is trying to prove she has special insight into who you are while simultaneously undermining the other's claims to understanding you. The frequency of these conversations is key. If your name comes up occasionally, that's normal. If it's coming up multiple times per week in conversations between the same group of women, that's competition. Sign 4. They develop sudden emergencies that require your specific help. Pay attention to this pattern. Do certain women seem to have problems that can only be solved by you? Her computer crashes and she needs someone tech-savvy to look at it. Her car makes a weird noise and she needs someone reliable to listen to it. She's moving apartments and needs someone strong to help with furniture. Each individual incident seems reasonable. But step back and look at the pattern, especially in relation to other women in your circle. Here's what's happening. They're creating legitimate reasons to get one-on-one time with you while excluding their competition. It's not about the computer or the car. It's about establishing private access to you that others don't have. But here's where the competition becomes obvious: the timing. Woman A asks for help with something on Saturday. By Tuesday, Woman B has discovered she also needs assistance with something. Woman C suddenly remembers she's been meaning to ask for help with a project. They're not just creating opportunities to spend time with you, they're trying to match or exceed the access their competition is getting. If one woman gets 2 hours of your time helping with something, another will find a reason to need 3 hours of your help the following week. The psychology behind this is sophisticated. They're creating scenarios where they can demonstrate their vulnerability to you, which builds intimacy, show that they trust you above others, which is flattering, and establish a pattern of you helping them, which creates a relationship dynamic. Most importantly, they're doing this while their competition can't interfere. When you're alone helping one woman, the others can't monitor the interaction or compete for your attention in real time. Sign 5. They remember everything about each other's interactions with you. This sign requires you to pay attention to conversations and how women reference each other's experiences with you. You'll notice that they have an almost supernatural awareness of what the others have done with you, talked to you about, or experienced in your presence. Woman A mentions that Woman B went to the same restaurant you recommended. Woman C knows that Woman D has the same book you suggested she read. This level of detailed knowledge about each other's interactions with you isn't normal social awareness. It's competitive intelligence gathering. They're tracking each other's progress with you like they're monitoring stock prices. Who got more time with you this week? Who did you seem more interested in talking to? Who did you laugh with more? Who did you share more personal information with? But here's the competitive twist. They use this information strategically. If Woman A successfully bonded with you over a shared interest in hiking, Woman B will suddenly reveal her own hiking experiences and suggest a more challenging trail. If Woman C made you laugh with her sense of humor, Woman D will start sharing funnier stories and making more witty observations. They're not just collecting information about each other's interactions with you, they're using that intelligence to outmaneuver their competition. It's like they're playing a game where everyone else's moves are visible, and they're constantly adapting their strategy based on what they observe. Sign 6. Group plans. Always include strategic positioning. Here's where female competition gets really sophisticated. Watch how group activities get organized when you're involved, and pay attention to where everyone ends up sitting, standing, or positioned. You'll start to notice patterns. In restaurants, there's always subtle maneuvering for who gets to sit next to you. At parties, women position themselves in your line of sight. During group conversations, they find ways to stand where they can make eye contact with you while facing their competition. This isn't accidental. They're thinking strategically about sightlines, proximity, and social positioning in a way that would make military tacticians proud. But here's the competitive element. They're not just trying to position themselves advantageously. They're trying to position their competition disadvantageously. They'll suggest seating arrangements that put them next to you and their rivals across the table. They'll stand in spots that force others to have their backs to you if they want to face the conversation. The psychology behind this is about maximizing their opportunities for connection while minimizing their competition's opportunities. If they can control the physical dynamics of social situations, they can influence who gets more attention, who seems more naturally compatible with you, and who appears to be part of your social circle versus outside of it. Sign 7. They develop inside jokes and references with you. This sign is about establishing exclusivity and intimacy markers that their competition can't access or replicate. You'll notice certain women working hard to create shared experiences, inside jokes, or reference points that only the two of you understand. Maybe it's a funny thing that happened when you were both stuck in an elevator. Maybe it's a reference to a conversation you had about a weird documentary you both watched. The key is that these moments become recurring themes in your interactions with them. They'll bring up the inside joke in group settings, reference the shared experience in conversations, and use these markers to establish that you have a special connection that others don't share. But here's the competitive aspect. They're not just creating these moments with you. They're making sure their competition knows these moments exist. When they reference the inside joke in front of others, they're sending a message. We have a connection and shared history that you don't have access to. This creates a dynamic where other women feel like they're on the outside of an established relationship, which can be discouraging to their competitive efforts. It's psychological territory marking disguised as natural relationship development. Sign 8. They become experts on your schedule and availability. The final sign is perhaps the most telling. They develop an almost supernatural awareness of your calendar, your routine, and your availability. They know when you usually grab coffee in the morning, when you typically go to the gym, when you're free on weekends, and when you're busy with work or other commitments. This knowledge allows them to accidentally run into you and to time their invitations and requests perfectly. But here's where the competition becomes obvious. They also know when you're spending time with their rivals. If you grab lunch with Woman A on Tuesday, Woman B will know about it and will find a reason to interact with you on Wednesday. If you help Woman C with something on the weekend, Woman D will suddenly have availability to do something with you the following weekend. They're not just tracking your schedule for their own strategic purposes. They're monitoring how much access their competition is getting and making sure they match or exceed it. The psychology behind female competition for high-value men. Understanding why this happens will help you recognize when you're the center of this dynamic. Women compete for men they perceive as relationship material, not just attractive. If you're experiencing these signs, it means multiple women see you as someone worth fighting for. Female competition is typically more psychological and social than male competition. While men might compete more directly, women use emotional intelligence, social dynamics, and strategic positioning. This makes their competition harder to detect, but no less intense. The reason they compete secretly is that openly competing for a man can backfire. It can make them seem desperate, create obvious conflict, or damage their social relationships. So they've evolved more sophisticated methods that allow them to compete while maintaining plausible deniability. What this means for you. If you're recognizing these patterns, understand that you're in a unique position. You've become what psychologists call a scarce resource in your social environment. Multiple women have identified you as high value and are working to position themselves as your best option. This isn't about your looks or your money, it's about your character, your energy, and the way you make women feel. That's the kind of attraction that creates competition because it's rare and valuable. Being aware of this dynamic can help you make more informed decisions about your relationships and interactions. You can choose to engage with this competition consciously or simply be more aware of the female dynamics happening around you. Remember, these women aren't being manipulative or deceptive. They're being strategic about something that matters to them. The fact that they're competing for your attention is a compliment to who you are as a person. The question is, are you paying enough attention to notice the game that's being played around you?